So, one of the other things that you can easily do with your kids is you can do a density bottle. Now, what this means is when you put certain liquids together, if they have these different weights, they're going to separate out. So, just like oil doesn't mix with water, but there are several others that you can include on this. So, for example, um, water, oil, rubbing alcohol, honey in corn syrup, if you have it, or molasses. Those are all going to be heavier, so they're going to sink to the bottom. Any of the oils that you have are going to rise to the top, and then water would be in between them. So I'm going to put one together and show you what it looks like, and then we'll talk a little bit more about why it happens. Okay, so I made one. I made a quick one. And I was actually surprised. I have corn syrup in my cabinet, apparently. And so what you can see, and it's a little bit, sorry about the glare, but the idea is that the corn syrup that's on the bottom is, it's very viscous, which means it's thick, but it is also heavier than the other liquids. So it's going to always stay towards the bottom. Then we've got water. I actually did put vinegar in here too, but you can't really see because they're clear. What would help is if you have food coloring at home, you can actually put some food coloring in the water and that will help it show up a lot more. It'll also make it look nicer. And then I put vegetable oil at the top, and vegetable oil is the lightest of all of these. So because it's the lightest, it's always going to be at the top. If you have beads, you can have the kids predict where the beads would end up if dropped into these. You can actually measure the materials. The important thing to remember is that density has to do with the materials inside of the liquid. So if the liquid is more tightly packed, it's going to be heavier, like the corn syrup. And if it's more loosely packed, like the oil, it's going to be more spread apart. It's not going to be as dense. Density, for understanding density, it's really important to think about the fact that we are, less dense than salt water. So we tend to float better in the ocean than we would in fresh water. And that has to do with our bodies and the fact that we're made up mostly of water. You can also talk about how it's important to know density for boats. So even though there are boats that are made out of steel, because they're so spread out, then just like the oil, then they're going to be able to float. So the more spread out they are, the better chance they have of floating. And you can have, your kids shake these up and then they see them combine, but it's usually not for very long. And then they separate back out. So little density lesson for you.